over me. Run through the land, you run through my soul. Bring me wisdom and peace. Run through all ages and all of life's stages. You bring me around to find my release.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to my guest. Today we have Brayton Shanley with us, and he and his wife, Suzanne, are co-authors and co-founders of the Agape community, and they have written a really good book, so far as I've got 3/4 of the way through it, Loving Life on the Margins, and if Paul can zero in on it, over there, the story of the Agape community. Welcome, Brayton.
Good to be here, Jan. Yeah.
Now, how did this all begin?
Well, where do I start? It starts with my wife and I, who are contrarians. We're looking for something more than just an ordinary life or a conventional life.
Yeah.
And then it starts with growing up maybe under the nuclear cloud. You know, we grew up with dropping the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki as a legacy, and war, although it was the Great War and it was the war that saved us from Hitler and tyranny. That was the reputation that it had. But it loomed as a cloud, not just a mushroom cloud, but the war and the preparations for war were something that we became aware of in the 1960s with the Vietnam War.
And I know where I grew up in Wilbraham, we had one of the first bomb shelters somebody had. I was a little kid, but somebody had a bomb shelter. Did you have one in your community?
No, but we had air raid drills. When we were in elementary school, we would go down.
You were
to the
just
basement.
bof me, I think, because we missed that part.
Yeah, so it was there, and then with the 1960s, when we were aware of all of the injustices of war and a very badly planned and conceived war, of the Vietnam War. So that all made an impression on me.
Yeah.
And so I decided to pursue nonviolence and pursue another way. I was draftable because I couldn't continue in college because I ran out of money, and they sent my name to the draft board right away, and so they were chasing me to.
What year was this?
This is 1966.
Okay.
And so eventually I got out of the draft on a back injury. I had broken my neck when I was a kid, and that made me 1Y, which was ineligible. But it showed me a lot about how our government works and how the military works. You know, supporting this lavish lifestyle that we have. We are the #1 country in the world. We want to keep it that way. The people that run for office that have any credibility have convinced the American people that yes, we are #1 and we will stay there. But we pay an enormous price for that. Yeah. And one of which is the million people at arms, million men, mostly and some women, at arms around the world to make sure that the control and the #1 status that we have economically prevails. And then the nuclear arms race out of that comes with the Soviet Union, and that makes an impression that we're just spending over 50% of every tax dollar on weapons. And then at every level of government, I mean every level of society, we see the death penalty. We're one of the only democracies, industrial democracies, that has the death penalty. And we have the highest incarceration rate. And then we see young boys now, especially, it started in my era, but it goes on now, watching violent video games. So they're nurturing their minds and all this violence.
Have you got children of your own?
Yes, we have one daughter.
You got millennials in the 20s?
Yes.
Yeah, well, my son is watching those. Hi, Wally. I'm on to them. I mean, they're watching that Call of Duty and all this stuff. You went to Emerson.
I did.
Now, is that where you met Suzanne?
No. I met Suzanne way after college, actually. And I had graduated college, and I got very interested in Asian religions, and I traveled around the world, traveled to India pursuing that. So I kind of deepened my nonviolence with those travels, and Gandhi, got very interested in Gandhi. And then I met Suzanne on my way to see my sister at Cape Cod. It was a little get-together that they were having, a Friends of Friends, and we just met by random chance, you might say. But one thing led to another, and then we spent many years together trying to figure out how we were going to be married. And then we decided, in a certain sense, that our faith really mattered to us. And so we were coming back to the Catholic Church, but we were coming back to the Catholic Church as disciples of nonviolence, as disciples of Jesus. And it's not so much that we were Catholic, but that we wanted to follow Jesus, and that Jesus really taught us how to live more at peace and how to change the circumstances of the violent culture that we lived in.
What did you major in Emerson? How did this
Well, I didn't last very long at Emerson.
Okay.
I only lasted...
I can relate. Well, I left college after a couple of years. I was bored.
Yeah. Well, I was interested in theater, and I ended up in a nonprofit educational organization.
I can see you in theater. Yeah.
So anyway, but then I went to St. Anselm College, and I majored in it was like a interdisciplinary sociology, and it was kind of a liberal arts era thing where you study the classics and you study in Catholic schools. You had to take 4 theology classes, 1 each year. So that became my major. That became the thing that I was most interested in. So I thought the beginnings of the nonviolent Jesus that I was to be dedicated to. And so Suzanne and I were trying to sort out how are we to live in this world if we're going to if we're going to make any sense, if we're going to make a life of meaning here. Are we going to address the ills that are so prevalent and so obvious to us? So we began to start faith-based peace groups and a peace group, and we were affiliated with Dan and Phil Berrigan, who had been so well known in the 1960s.
Where did the name agape come from?
Agape is a Greek word for love, and it's unconditional love. That's the most familiar way of saying it. But it's also the love. It's a nonviolent, compassionate, and merciful love that Jesus talks about in his preaching and teaching.
And before we forget, we're talking with Brayton Shanley, and Brayton, he can right over there. His book is Loving Life on the Margins: The Story of the Agape Community. You can get a copy downstairs in the Upton Library. And where else is it, Brayton? Where else can you?
Well, you can buy the book if you contact Agape at peace@theagapecommunity.org. And peace@agapecommunity.org. And or call 413-967-9369 and order the book.
Do you have a website?
Yes, we have www.agapecommunity.org.
AGAPE, yeah?
Yes, AGAPE.
Now, when did you and Suzanne found it? It
was in we started the community with other families in 1982. And
wow, that's been going on quite a while.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's 37 years now. It's going on 38. And then we moved to Hardwick, Massachusetts. It was a rural vision where we went. I grew up in suburbs and lived in the city of Boston, and the vision here was to go, in some ways, back to the land, because we were trying to live more simply, that the acquisitive and materialist lifestyle was not for us, and I don't think it's for anyone really, because it's false meaning. So how do you get true meaning? Well, what we decided to do was go back to the land and learn how to build houses and grow food and cut wood for heat and landscape land that's respectful of the earth, and to learn how to walk gently on the earth.
You have your own garden.
Yes, we do.
Your own food.
We cook. We grow 60% of our fruits and vegetables. Yeah.
Do you have solar? What do you think of the solar heating?
Yes.
What do you think that's good?
Well, we have solar energy.
Yeah.
So the solar energy, the entire community is on solar energy. It took us 20 years to kind of build that up. It's an expensive proposition all at once, but if people work piecemeal at it, it's very, very doable.
You say community. Is this located in one place?
Yes. Well, it's a complicated answer to that.
Okay.
The Agape community is a network of people, really. There's 3 of us that live and are committed day to day to the community. My wife and Dixon George, another person who is dedicated to the work of Agape, and we live on 34 acres of land now, and we grow our food, we build and maintain our houses, and we do peace work. We left our jobs. Suzanne was a high school English teacher, and I had my own nonprofit educational business. And
is that a piece on your cover of your book? Is that part of where you live? That beautiful
yes.
barn?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's the main house. That's Francis' house, dedicated to St. Francis of Assisi. So we teach nonviolence. We also teach environmental stewardship and sustainability. Mm-hmm. That we learned that the materialism that we had been suspicious of, that was meaning, that somehow you could just worry about yourself, make sure you had your ducks in a row, you got the right job, and you were able to make a good salary, and you were sensible with money. You could do a lot with that. So for yourself. So we were suspicious of that. What about the other? What about, as my mother used to say, what about African Americans who are suffering? What are you doing for them? And what do we need to do about that? And of course the message of Jesus, and so much of the people that had inspired me, which Dorothy Day and the Catholic worker tradition, is what about the poor? What about people that never had a chance? Mm-hmm. So we decided to help people coming out of prison, and go visit people in prison, and pull people up who were in serious situations, women of domestic violence.
Right there at the community. Now, where you live in your community, where is it located?
It's in Hardwick, Massachusetts.
Hardwick, okay.
30 miles northwest of Worcester.
Okay.
So that's where we're located.
Does everybody have like a private cottage, and then there's the main large building?
Well, no. There's a main. It's like a school. Imagine a school. So we have a main lodge, which is main house there, which is different now because we have a porch.
Right.
And
we got a porch. Okay.
We got a porch, so it's a different look. So that's where guests live, and that's where Dixon lives. He's the full-time member. And that's where interns come, and they come to learn how to live the life. Mm-hmm. So we teach and try to live nonviolent conflict resolution that we might be having within the community. We also protest wars together, or violences that we disapprove of.
How many are in your community?
Well, there's 3 that are committed. There's a mission council of 12. Mm-hmm. Those are volunteers that live nearby, usually, or some from far, and they come by regularly, and they volunteer, or they help us. They're like a advisory board. Mm-hmm. We also have a board of directors, as most nonprofits have, and we have, I'd say, an extended community of 100 people in the region that come and. Mm-hmm. They come to our services, religious services. They come.
Is it non-denominational?
Well, no, it's a Catholic lay community.
Yeah.
So we're Catholics that are first and foremost followers of Jesus. Okay. Now, in this day and age, and with my own experience, especially as a young person, I've had religious experiences, and I've been changed by yoga. Mm-hmm. Hinduism, Hindu mysticism, the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, the teachings of Buddha, and the example of Buddhist Thich Nhat Hanh and the Dalai Lama, etc., etc., etc.
I like Indian meditation. I fell in love with it. It's the only thing that worked with me. I just was so relaxed, loving it. Right.
Well, that's their contribution to the world, which is all of history. Really, is to watch the mind and guide it with breath and with awareness. So if you're getting too angry, if you're getting too judgmental, if you're getting too many violent fantasies, well, you want to be aware of that. Mm. And you want to use the breath, or use a mantra, use a word. I use the word of Jesus, as I'm breathing, to try to breathe in that spirit, to be aware first that you're thinking that, and that you don't want to chase it away, and you don't want to get angry at yourself. You want to allow the awareness to just let it pass. So you're, in a sense, very gently and persistently training the mind toward love, compassion, and mercy, all seen in all the world religions.
So if somebody is from different religions, are they welcome to come and visit with you?
More than welcome. They're desired. We have a prayer life that works off the New Testament, but we also use the Hebrew Scriptures and Asian texts.
Yep.
So we're all very familiar.
The Torah.
With,
do you have
right,
things in Torah?
Torah, yeah, and the Buddhist texts, various Buddhist texts we use, and the Tao Te Ching is a big from the Taoist tradition. So this day and age, it really doesn't make sense to be just in one religion, thinking you might have the best religion or this is the only religion. It's so we live in such an international and intercommunal world that these influences, the best of the world religions, need to get together and share, and we need to learn from each other. And that's no problem with us, because we already know the value of other religions. So we also have St. Francis Days, where we invite people of different traditions to come and spend the day and tell us what it's like for them. And we had a day when Donald Trump was starting to say some pretty nasty things about Islamic people and fear-driven ones, and so we had a whole day set aside to hear from Islamic people. So Muslims came to the community for the whole day, and we just gave them the stage, right, and they got to speak their piece. Then I went to Standing Rock, which was the Lakota tradition.
That's Indian, American Indian.
American Indian, right?
I had a friend who was from the Lakota.
Right. Yes, right. The Plains Indians. And they were resisting the pipeline, the oil pipeline that was going to go through their sacred grounds.
Yeah.
So they were teaching us that grounds are sacred, but burial grounds are particularly sacred.
Sure.
The oil is not sacred. The oil is something that needs to remain in the ground, and that we need to use other forms of energy that don't create greenhouse gases and pollute the earth. So they protested the pipeline being enforced on them, a battle they ended up losing, but they did inspire many of us to continue the battle, and it was a Standing Rock.
Brayton, did you see
legacy.
This coming when you were in high school? Did you have a feeling this was where you were going to be headed, or in college?
I knew I was going to do something different.
Yeah.
And so when I was a kid, I was living in the moment, which was I was enjoying myself.
Well, what did you major in college when you hit Emerson?
Well, I didn't get to major in Emerson, but I ended up majoring, and again in sort of a sociology, liberal arts. But what made the most impression on me was theology, and what made it Christian theology. What made an even bigger impression on me was the comparative religion course that I took, which was taught by a Benedictine monk, a Christian.
Okay.
And he introduced me to the various world religions, and that was the first era. This is just mid-60s, where Christians and Christian theologians and Christian monks who were teachers were teaching the value of other religions through the study of comparative religions. And that made that's what I graduated with.
Are you aware of the fact that in Grafton there is a monastery, and they have mindfulness classes and meditation right over here in Grafton off of Route 140.
Yeah.
I haven't joined in yet, but my husband and I drove up there. It's kind of up there in the woods, but it's right off of 140. But you'd love it.
Yeah, I certainly would.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We are talking with Brayton Shanley, and he and his wife Suzanne were the co-founders and co-authors of the Agape Community, and they have a wonderful book called Loving Life on the Margins, the story of the Agape Community. They can get a copy. Tell them again where they can get the copy.
Well, you can email us your request at peace@agapecommunity.org. You can call 413-967-9369 and order a copy of our book, and visit our website at www.agapecommunity.org, and you'll get the whole story.
Or come on over to the Upton Library. Downstairs, we have I hadn't realized how much we've had so many authors on here through the years. That Brayton and I were just down there, and that's only the second time in a couple of years I've seen that. He said, "Oh, you interview quite a few authors." I'm like, "Yeah, we do." I love giving authors a break. This book, where did I hear about you? It was one of the newspapers. Where did I find out about you?
I don't remember.
Do you remember being interviewed? By one of the, like in Metro West or any of the local.
Well, yeah, we've been in the Western Mass papers.
Metro West would be up here, and
right.
yeah.
Well, this is more. More. I'm in the Boston Globe. Matter of fact, an old high school friend got back in touch with me because I was interviewed by the Boston Globe when we had Mahatma Gandhi's grandson come to the community.
Yeah.
And so much of what the Asian religions taught us too was the value and the sacredness of the earth, and so much of our future work as a rural community, really, who are trying to live simply and grow our own food and walk lightly on the earth, is really respond to the climate crisis. That we're going to put all that we know about nonviolence and about lifestyle and really, really work at turning the tide that's going against us because of all of our use of fossil fuels, mostly since World War II.
This reminds me a lot of well, let me see. I don't know if I was right. I was behind you growing up, I think, but a lot of they had a good purpose. The communes were coming together, right? I remember mentioning something like that to my parents, and I was just a kid, and they were like, "No, you're too young for that." But it sounded pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, it's the individualistic lifestyle that's killing us. First of all, it's lonely. It's either an individualistic, I have all I need, I don't need you, or it's the nuclear family that's very individualistic and very much a monolith and very much not connected to the neighborhoods around us. That really adds to the materialism. That somehow we find our security and our sense of well-being comes from having it all. But if you start to look at how we can live together and the way that the environment is going, the individualistic consumerist lifestyle is done, or we're done. We're facing extinction and the extinction of plants and animals as we speak. So the communal lifestyle is not only an ideal. I grew up with the sense of the ideal, back to the land, the communal lifestyle, living together. It can be kind of a romantic idea, but now we're facing such dire circumstances with the environment that the communal lifestyle is going to be a necessity. And I think I look forward to that, because I think humans do better when they're forced into it. If they've got the choice and they have all these perks and all these choices and all these this potential wealth, I don't think that brings the best in us. I don't think it brings out the best. But if we're saying, okay, we have 10 years to turn this around. The IPCC report, Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, says we have 10 years to turn around this path to extinction if we reduce our greenhouse gases 40% in 10 years. And then in the remaining 30, we have to reduce it 100%. So that's going to mean a rethinking, a reinventing about what we do and how we live and how we make a living and what energies we use. It's going to be a completely retooling, reinventing ourselves.
What is the age group, Brayton? The age group at now? Is this not the only community of Agape in Massachusetts, or are there others? I'm trying to think who would get in touch with you, who would want to come.
Yes. Well, I mean, young people typically come. We do college programs, college rural immersions, where we pray together, we work together, we eat together, we cook meals together, and then interns who want to come and learn to live that lifestyle can come, and as they do all throughout the year.
Do they come from the colleges? Well, like Holy Cross.
Yes.
Were they religious colleges?
Yes, primarily I would say they come from the Catholic communities or Christian movements within campus ministries, within secular colleges, you might say. That's usually the base for us. But some people just they get on the internet and they find us.
Yeah.
You know,
they find it. Now this has been going on for how many years? Well, what did you say about
37, 30? Yeah, 30.
Why is it I just heard about you not that long ago.
Well, I wish it weren't like that.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, it is strange. I wish I had an answer for it other than people are so preoccupied with either survival or getting ahead or finding out who they are that they don't want to take the time to look for an alternative way of life. This is a radical alternative way of life.
Is there another book coming in the future? Is there another one?
No, sure.
This was your first one, right?
No, I wrote a book before that, The Many Sides of Peace, which was the kind of 19 ways you can live nonviolence, and from a Christian perspective. And I wrote that 6 years ago, and then Suzanne and myself wrote this one. It took us 4 years and came out this year.
You've got a couple minutes left. If somebody wanted to connect with you and like to come up to visit, what's the best way they could do that?
Well, you can email us, as I said, at peace@agapecommunity.org, or you can call. I'm pretty old-fashioned when it comes to these things. I like people getting on the phone.
Do you do email, too?
Yes, we do email,
What's your email address?
peace@agapecommunity.org.
.org.
Yeah, org is the nonprofit part. Yeah.
Well, what if they just went there and they decided, gee, we want to take part, we want to live up here. Do you have enough room?
Oh, we got 34 acres of land.
Yeah, but are there little houses along there?
Yeah, there's two main buildings. There's a hermitage that people can come to pray in, and then we have a writer's hut. We have a friend who's going to come and write his memoirs about being a doctor and his wife, who's a nurse, and a co-conspirator in helping the Haitian people, he's coming for a week to write in our writer's hut. So we can do a lot of things, but we certainly look to the future and would love young people to be more involved in this, and so we welcome them. And the future does belong to the young.
Now, you have a child in the 20s, right?
Right. She's now 32.
She isn't interested. Is she?
Well, she lives a couple of hours away, but she comes regularly with her daughter.
Your grandpa already.
Yeah. So that's.
Someday we're going to meet Suzanne. We have you back on again. We'll maybe hopefully have Suzanne with you.
Yes.
Suzanne and Brayton are the co-founders and also co-writers of that book, Loving Life on Mars, about the Agape community. I don't know why we haven't heard more about it through the years, but at least we have heard it now. You get a copy of their book downstairs at the Upton Library. Borrow it, enjoy it. He has told you how you can buy it. I can get it out there. And I'm helping him get out there, get this book out there more. I think I love religions. I mean, I have no problem talking about it.
What did you like about religion?
My roommate...
Now it's my turn. I need to...
Okay. Oh, no, I like that. No, when I was raised pretty liberally. I was sent to congregational Sunday school, but you couldn't get Dad to go to church. And the minister would keep coming and say, come on and join us. And Dad would say, you don't have to go to church to be religious. He was right. I mean, he had his own right to stay home and be spiritual.
Yeah.
When I got to college, my first roommate, I didn't know who she was. She was a Christian Scientist. And I found it, they don't proselytize, they do not, pound the door. I just watched her. She seemed very intelligent. And I saw the way she went about things and always seeing the good. And I'm like, I got to go with this. Never forgot it. I love it, still to this day. And I've been to Jewish ceremonies, love their happiness, the way they do it. Catholic, although I'm not Catholic, I still enjoy just coming in and sitting there, and the way they do things by rote, over and over and over again. I got to the point where I could say it too. I know I shouldn't get up to get communion if you're not Catholic, but the friend of mine that would take me was getting angry. He says, you get up there, you go ahead. I said, well, it's against your church. There are so many different ones out there. Gosh, I haven't investigated probably enough of them, but they're good. Unitarian Universalists. They take everybody. Everybody's what? We have to go. Brayton, it's been great to see you.
No, it was great to be here, Jim.
Again, we'll get you back on again. Hopefully we'll have Suzanne
Yeah,
with you.
let's do that.
We'll see you next time.